It's me, Mario! Hello!
Hey everybody, I'm Tony and this is the Hard4Games channel. Today we're taking a look at a very unique Mario 64 mod called Render 96, or formerly known as the SGI Project, as in Silicon Graphics Incorporated, which gives a big hint in regards to what this mod is all about. So let's take a trip down memory lane. When Nintendo was touting the upcoming Nintendo 64 titles with the power and rendering capability of the Silicon Graphics workstations that they were being developed on. This era produced a ton of nice 3D promotional renders of Mario, and realistically every other character. You got a bit of this, some of these styles of renders in the SNES era. Games that featured pre-rendered graphics, for example, come to mind, like Donkey Kong. But the 32 and 64-bit era really shot this trend into overdrive. And of course, like I said, these renders were featured promotionally, and they were way more detailed than the visuals you got in the game. They were more like high-res, idealized versions of what the game would ultimately become. And it's an extreme example, but it kind of reminds me of like the Atari 2600 covers. You'd have a crazy action shot with all this amazing artwork and stuff going on, but the actual game, obviously due to the time, would just be a series of a couple hundred colored pixels. And that brings us back around to Render 96. It's a Mario 64 mod in the style and vein of the promotional artwork. But it's not just that, because there are also a bunch of extras. So as you can see, this looks like a real shiny new coat of paint. Nearly every texture, model, and even sounds were redone or reintegrated. And what I mean by reintegrated is the team tracked down several of the original asset CDs Nintendo used during the era. Now, I didn't realize this, but a lot of the textures and sounds were not proprietary in-house content. Much of it came from asset libraries that they bought the license to. So the content was rediscovered, dumped, combed through for any textures, etc. that may have been utilized in Mario 64, and then those were reintegrated, but without the burden of the original compression. Anything that wasn't found was remade. So you get textures and skyboxes with insane detail. Clouds that are so crisp you can see the edges. An endless abyss where you can see every single tree. Now, aside from that, I do want to talk about some of my favorite specific work in this. Some of the models here are crazy. Like the Womps, you can actually see depth in their mouths. It's unexpected and pretty awesome. You can murder baby penguins in exquisite detail. The paintings are also something to behold. You can kind of see the faux quasi-brush strokes that they remade and reintegrated into these. They're honestly probably the most beautiful part of the game. There's also an attention to beta elements. For example, Blarg is back, and there are a ton of him swimming around. Even Motos or whatever, a model that was found in the Giga Leak, makes an appearance here. Now, what makes it even more interesting is that, it is sort of a high-resolution promotional restoration with beta elements, but you also get elements from Mario 64 DS, so it's really a hybrid. You can enter this room here, and if you've collected enough keys, you can unlock Luigi, and if you've collected enough special coins, you can unlock Wario. And I like how even if you do have enough to unlock them, the game still spits you on your ass. Now, Wario's waddle here is perfection, and you can truly race Chonk vs. Chonk, which I enjoy. And I think he screams, "Oh my god," as he falls to his death.
Oh my god!
Like, am I hearing this right? Does he scream, "Oh my god," as he falls to his demise?
Oh my god!
Now, Luigi has a bit of a flutter jump, as Luigi does. But I like how it's done here. It doesn't really increase your height or make you float, it just makes it so you don't fall as fast. It's just a tiny little wrinkle that makes him just that much more different to play as. Now that said, there are a few issues though. I'm going to direct you all to the Discord if you are interested in getting this set up, because Lord knows I cannot explain it. It was explained to me step by step how to get this working on a video call, and I still don't know how I did it. It's like a fever dream I never woke up from. It is the most complex setup of any mod I've ever done. It's wild, and I think a lot of the people probably working on this are obviously more technically familiar with what it takes to build the mod and such, and obviously are used to working with this one because they've been working with this one for a while. But as an outsider, like, it was super confusing. Functionally, you need to compile your own build of the game from the assets and the Mario 64 ROM. And yes, I joke around, yes, it is a bitch and a half to do, but if you follow the instructions, you should be able to do it, and the Discord is there to support you. I also noticed that during some transitions, like getting a star or opening a door, there were some hiccups. Now, it probably would not be for everybody. I have a pretty powerful laptop, but whenever certain transitions would happen, the game would just kind of hiccup and freeze for a couple seconds, and then it would continue per normal. It didn't crash the game or anything like that. It was stable, but it would just had to take a second for whatever reason. Again, might not be an issue for you. Next, there are a ton of options in the menu, including a low poly mode if you want it, but a lot of the settings don't always initiate right away. So take the camera, for example. You can do a free or original version. It defaults to original, where it's kind of like the C buttons. You press it and it kind of moves so far in sort of increments, right? It's very staccato in terms of the motion. And then free can just kind of move all around. Although it does move incredibly fast, and it does give you the option to slow the camera speed, slow the sensitivity down, but it doesn't seem to do anything. But I digress. Regardless, you can see here that I switch over the camera mode, but it doesn't switch until I leave the area. And then I can switch it back, and it doesn't switch until I leave the area. It's kind of strange, it was weird because I try to get like shots that are in front of Mario for like thumbnails and stuff for the video, and like shots for you guys so you can see the models, because the traditional camera doesn't really like to be in front of Mario. So I would switch it to that, and then I'd be forced to play that way, and it was like really awkward and kind of just hard to see what was going on. But once it switches over to what you want, it's fine. The only other sort of critique that I have is this funny little power-up. It's a milk power-up, and it's actually really cool. So it's based on a commercial where Mario drinks milk and grows, right? So milk commercial makes you grow strong, big, whatever. Got milk, all that stuff. So anyways, in-game, you explode in size when you get it. Problem is, neither the free nor traditional camera really have any ability to, deal with Mario being this size. You can't really even get, a good look at him. Or at least it's really hard to. And I know that the commercial makes it pretty clear that this is the level that Mario becomes so big. But the level itself isn't really suitable to have Mario so large in such a small space. And you don't get a bigger jump or anything like that. It's just sort of like eye candy, which is totally fine if that's what it is supposed to be. But I think there has to be something done with the camera so you can at least enjoy that moment a little bit more. So overall, this is an incredible project, and an incredibly beautiful project at that. I do have a couple people to thank for helping me out during all this. I do want to give a shout out to Dorf, the project lead, and I also want to give a big thank you to Vibe Rater. Yes, you heard me right. It's even worse than the name Hard4Games. Who would have thunk it? But he walked me through step by step in terms of compiling and building out the mod so I could play it. Really appreciate it, sir, and also answered a ton of my questions. And lastly, a big shout out to the Render 96 Discord. I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description below. It's free, it's public. You can go ahead and jump into it and interact, ask questions, and get yourself going on this particular title. And I recommend you do because it's a lot of fun, a lot of work went into it, and it's quite pretty. Aside from that, I really appreciate all of you watching. If you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe, ring the notification bell so you know when our videos are coming out, and we'll see you all next time.